never seen nobody playing. They will never feel to break your heart. 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 And you can see nobody love you. I've never seen nobody love you. You can see nobody love you. I think you can never see nobody love you. They will never love you till you die. They will never love you till you die. They will never love you till you die. They will never love you till you never, never love you, baby. See nobody grateful. You can never see nobody grateful. You can see nobody grateful. I think you can never see nobody grateful. They will never satisfy their needs. They will never satisfy their needs. They will never satisfy their needs. They will never satisfy the needs, yeah. You gotta be grateful, you gotta be grateful. You can never see nobody grateful. Love me, love me, love me, yeah. You can never see nobody love you. You can never see nobody feel. You can never see nobody feel.
I have to say, one of the things to agreeing to do this, I have huge vanity problems. I kind of like being in the background doing stuff. I never really like being in the fore or giving talks. My English teacher would be proud. Dr. Thomas, wherever you are, thank you. I never really even get to a point where giving talks or doing anything of this, and then having a crowd this big, it's not nerve-wracking, because I was saying to Ross earlier, I'm so affirmed in my BS, guys, so nothing really kind of rocks that. I've had a lot of time to acquaint myself with myself, if I could say that, so that's not really the part. It's just, to be given a platform to speak. I thought it would be really cool to do it because, we constantly are bombarded as artists and people, having people get to a point where they can tell you how things cannot work. You see, that's where people usually start off the process. It's the most irritating thing. It's like, oh yeah, I was thinking this, and then somebody says to you, oh yeah, but and it's just like, well, we can't start off like that, so my whole thing is that it was more along the lines of doing this to kind of let you guys know working together is really good. And I kind of wanted to start off playing this video because the gentleman that I was filming with my favorite camera, which is a VX1000, and creates a lot of 90s nostalgia SD, which is really, really fun. We did that to kind of propel his career in the States. And so we sat and we filmed for 4 months. And in that 4 months, I edited for about three months because I really wanted to formulate something that could kind of help him in moving forward in the States and people understanding that he has a context and that he has his own narrative. I'm going to go on about that like pretty much the whole talk, right? So it's like one of the biggest things, like your narrative is important. You should hold that dearly. You should fight for that every single day. And it should be something that you are willing to die for. You know, I think it's just one of those things that I don't like somebody else telling my story. I don't enjoy it at all. And I think I've come to a point where there's even production houses and companies that I've even walked away from trying to get to a point where they're trying to skew my particular narrative into a direction. And I'm like, I've worked really hard to be this messed up. You know, and I am not allowing you to get to a point where you're spoiling that for me. And so I got to a point where we made this video, and he finally is on a international team, being taken seriously for who he is. And he's skating for a company now called Dirty Ghetto Kids, which was started by one of my favorite skateboarders, Stevie Williams. It's quite a big skateboard company. It's quite a big company internationally. And I just wanted to kind of just, again, working together, coming together is just the only way this thing works. And I know it's hard to find the right people sometimes. It's hard to find people working at the pace that you needed. But I kind of was like, I'm gonna do this and talk today if I'm allowed to tell everybody that's here that working together is the best way to be able to do something. And of course you can see like all the sponsors, everybody kind of doing stuff. And even, I didn't know what audience would be here. I kind of thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be speaking to people at Vega, so maybe it's more youth-oriented, and it's quite mixed, which is really, really great. And it's, I've got friends here too. I've got friends that I have known. Melissa. Hey Melissa, how you doing? Dude, she's the best. And I've worked, we've worked together for so many years. We also, one of the things that we was not in there is that we would throw, hey Marvin, we would throw parties together to kind of bring people together. So we had Manola nights that we did with Melissa, which we're going to carry on. It's just I've been busy with some other stuff. Life gets hectic. And bringing people together, it was really cool, and we'd have all these parties and we'd throw them, and it was really, really cool. So having a space where people come together also is really great, and it's just, that was why I agreed again. Yeah. Let me go back because this order is not right. So then I was asked to talk about game. And I was told about this weeks ago, and I have this I have like two amazing privileges in my life that I hold very, very dear. Two amazing, amazing privileges, which is that I don't release work unless it's ready. It's just like, and I make no excuse for that. It's just, I basically come from parents who have allowed me to be a skateboarder in a third world country, so you can understand that, like, falling and getting up, they've watched it numerous times, and I think I entertain them too, because I'm always like, hey Dad, I got this idea, then I come back and I'm like, yo, that was so and then it's like, oh Dad, like, I got this other idea, like, I'm gonna start this other thing, like, I got this friend and we're gonna, like, put this thing together, and I come back and I'm like, and then sometimes I come through and I've got something and it's really cool. Then my dad's like, yeah, that's really cool. My mom's like, oh, that's really rad. And it's hard to impress my mother, by the way, which, you know, she should have just grown up playing poker. It's her face. Of course, I know her because I've known her for a very long time. She's very, very happy with the human that I have become. But she, you know, it's just like the exterior is very hard. But anyway, so that's. And, you know, and again, this exercise has been really good to do this, like to have like this talk too. I kind of wanted to come from a point of also of gratitude, because what has allowed me is getting to a point where I've had time to reflect and some realizations also while, sorry, the green can, I'm kicking it. I've had time to reflect and had time for some realization while writing and putting all of this together. And, you know, and then also getting to a point where you're like, you know what, my feelings and my needs also really are a tear in a storm, you know, compared to what is happening in the world. But also they are mine. And that's been really, really cool because, you know, you spend so much time also getting to a point where you can gamble, which has also been really cool. It's been really fun. Like, I mean, I've had a really good time, guys. And, you know, putting work together, doing life and living in South Africa to have the privilege of kind of being a fire starter on some things is quite fun. It's like, it of course it's long, it's drawn, but like, you know, who said it was going to be easy, you know? And that's what's been fun about it. Completely not knowing what the hell you are doing every single day you wake up, but there's always something to do, and then you kind of just like managing to kind of piece things together and get it going. And yeah, again, it was like, yeah, going back to it. So the game, and I was sitting there, I was just like, you know, so I was like, so I have these things. So one of my privileges is releasing work when not ready. And then the other is that I have the time to also work on something if I'm inspired, like, you know, other people call it ADD, whatever. If it just doesn't move me, I don't do it. I mean, it's just one of those things too. And you know, you get to a point, I mean, Melissa would know. Melissa knows this way more. What's going on? Hey, Melissa, I'm cool. Dude, like, I've got the stuff that needs to get done, like, and I told you that you need, I was like, oh, well, you know what, I was about to do it, then I kind of needed to get inspired, and I was watching this Akira Kurosawa film, and it was like 3 hours long, and then I ended up kind of being like thrown from that. I was trying to find some sort of inspiration to get into it, and then she's just listening to me over the phone. I mean, Melissa has listened to me, and I really admire your patience with me and being a really good friend to me, like, and so then I came up with how I'm gonna kind of talk about the game. I went for weeks. I was not inspired to kind of write anything for weeks. I was like, and then, you know, my family's like, oh, hey, so you told us you're gonna do the speech, so we don't see you working on it or doing anything. And then I was like, I'm not feeling inspired. And then I went to on the net and I looked up the definition of game. So then that was it. So I was like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna look up the definitions and then I'll write my own thing. And then I'll kind of bring it within like the context of skateboarding. Because that's something I've been doing for 2 decades. I think even frankly longer. Because when I was a kid, the first movie that I went to go watch in cinema was Glimming the Cube. and that was 1990. That was the first film that I watched alone, where my parents weren't there, and I was like, I'm gonna go watch a film. And then I sat there and I was like, this is it. This is all I want to do with my life. Like, I just want to skateboard. This is like, I'm totally sold. And you know, it's skateboarding is right. So skateboarding is crazy. It's an art, right? And then in the first definition, all right. So the first definition, a form of creative activity and a play according to rules. Skateboarding falls completely into that as far as game. You know, it's like there's art. There's art, and then in art, like you guys all know, if you are artists, there's rules in it. There's just ethics, rules, certain things that are applied that sometimes people will look at you very, very strange and be like, but you know, you could just tweak this a little bit and there could be just way more money made if you, but then you're like, no, but like, what are my peers gonna think? Like, you know, like what is gonna, what, like, because you know, you get so involved in reflecting your art in like a really, really cool way. And like skateboarding, yes, it's an art and they are within those rules. And then of course, like it being vibrant, you know, it sees a lot of vibrance, like a lot of, I have met a lot of different skateboarders, people who are even people on and off a skateboard, you know, and you gain a lot of patience for people, because some kids come to you in a very peaceful manner and it's very easy to work with. They're great, and then of course in our society you have people who are coming with a lot of anger, and then you have to be able to like sit there and kind of work with that. So you're like, okay, cool, so how do I work with this? Like, I have to just make sure that I'm making this happen. So for an example, the video that I made before, the anxiety that I had to deal with the subject that I was filming was quite intense. You know, so he's coming at you with like a lot of anxiety and stuff, and then asking, because you know, with that anxiety, he's like, oh, there's kind of like these rules that I kind of like to break, and you're like, no, dude, we don't break that. Like, we have to make a product, and we have to do stuff, and we have to make sure that an international audience understands. So there are rules in terms of my filming, how I'm filming this, how I'm portraying you as a person, so that we're not doing something that's substandard, subpar, trying to cheat a process. So that's why it ended up being that we filmed it for 4 months, where he stayed at my house, and that kind of didn't go really too well. Because he loves partying and drinking, and I was staying with somebody who was just not in favor of his behavior. But again, I have to take in what I take, work with what I've got, and then be able to create a product, right? And then be able to do that. So, and it's a system. Like it's also a system. It has, like, skateboarding is a system. It has its systems. It has its things. So it's like, as far as like, you know, there are people who are involved in it on an industry level. You know, those people are like making, you know, brands that some people wear today, DC or Element. Nike has even gotten into the system, which is not really good. That's my feeling. But yeah, and it's and in that system, of course, there are people in it that you have to get to a point. I mean, you get to a point of accepting that there are people who are inclusive, people who would like, and then there are people who just are not happy at all with being inclusive or bringing people in, and that in itself becomes something else. And then and like the culture around it too, which is really, really interesting. So it's like it has waves like any culture, where it's very strong, and then at some point it just dips and then becomes sheepish, just for survival, you know what I mean? Because of how all our basically all in terms of like culture, like how culture works is that like any culture, there's an up, there's down, and you have to get into a thing where you are experiencing that. And sometimes because we're in South Africa and relatively resources quite small, you feel it a lot more. I mean, of course, other countries have higher stakes, but you do feel it because the resources are quite small. That the ups, that there are these ups in the culture, and then there's like these downs in the culture. And understanding that, and understanding all of those particular things is where I feel I have the competitive edge. To me, it's about getting to a point where you are looking, because people make up everything. Guys, we're here. I mean, these walls are great. Like, they're awesome. Like all of this is great, but without you here, it doesn't exist. You know, so it's getting to a point where you're encompassing people and all their attitudes, their attributes, you know, and then working with that. You know, and that in itself is like kind of lay my competitive edge. And also, again, never giving up the narrative. It's like it is absolutely vital that if you are involved in something, that you are within context. So all the things that I've said are all the context in which I work. So those are all of the context in which I work. And then the narrative is basically the answer. This is how then I get into a thing of controlling my own narrative and telling my story. Because at the end of the day, no one else wants to hear a story or see a story that they've kind of seen before. You know, it's like, it's really important for you to get to a point where within context, within gaining that, then you then get into a point of telling your story, your narrative. And I can't stress that anymore, because one of the things that is really hard sometimes is to see kings and queens who are not in touch with their worth. You know, like you get to a point where you like watching people and you're like, dude, like you are way more than that. You know what I mean? Like, and not because you know better, but you just like, your story is amazing. Your story is amazing. Your story is amazing. Your story is amazing. And so therefore you tell it. And then again, like having the privilege of being able to do that, I can't stress how amazing that has been. Like I said, you know, I go into a situation, I come out of it, and I can come out unscathed to some degree. But then walking out, learning something from that is what has been the most vital. Yeah. And then, sorry, again, the order. 20 minutes left. I have to get to a point where I'm moving a lot faster if I have to do 20 minutes. All right.
There's rules.
There are rules. There are rules. There are rules. And you know, and then another definition, which was also really interesting, an activity that engages in amusement. So I don't have to really get to a point where I kind of explain that. I can kind of move very fast on that. It has been the most amusing thing to be able to get to a point where you're doing something that in the grand scheme of relevance is quite it's quite tiny. And then you get to a point where you're doing it, but then in yourself, it's like it moves you, you know? It's like, because then also in that movement that is that tiny, you also learn that it's not about you, you know, which is also pretty funny. It's like you then have to like get to a point where you are you are admired, but then also you admire, you know what I mean? And then you have to kind of do things also on a level where you are doing things that are unpopular, you know, for the craft, you know, things that, you know, you take a firm stance on sometimes, and that you're not rocking on, in terms of being able to get to a point where, again, you're making great content. Like, you're making great content that you are creating. So you are the master of your direction, and so therefore you are making and paving your own road, and so you make sure that the quality of it is quite high. It's been amusing to be that guy. Because people just look at you and they're like, dude, this guy, like, and you're just like, no, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. This is my story. Yeah. So that in itself has also been amazing in terms of being involved in the game. Also because you don't want to be a brick on the wall. Like, who wants to be a brick on the wall? Like, who wants to be... I mean, it's going... I think spending time in New York was also one of those things too. And skating in New York was one of those things where I was just like, I can understand why there's people come out and because there's so many people who born, live, and die. And you just, there's that talk of being a brick in the wall. And then when you come back home, you're like, actually, you know what? I also don't want to be a brick in the wall. I want to be able to do something and kind of get to a point. And that has been absolutely amusing to kind of see the faces and of course, engaging with people, skating their property, some guy coming out, hey, what the hell are you doing? And you're like, I'm creating magic here. This is my house. You can't be skating my wall. And then that in itself. And then when somebody walking up to you is like, hey, it was a pumamazinho. It's like, you're going to fall and your teeth are going to come out. And it's like, oh yeah, but, and then people being encouraging. And then it's been, wow, it's been amazing. And then I think I'm going to go past that because I got 20 minutes. And then another definition, eager and willing to do something new or challenging, right? Game, right? I mean, some of the things that has been really interesting is that skateboarding has brought so many elements to my life. And these elements have been really interesting to a point where you're bringing people home and then afterwards when the person leaves, my mom walks up to me, she's like, who is that and how the hell did you meet that person? It's like, because you end up getting into a point where you're meeting people who are also challenging space, challenging the environment, like from graffiti artists, people who are artists. And then you coming together with all these people, and then you find like a common thing that you're just not really 100% happy with the status quo. That's really what happens. And then you get into direct or indirect activism, and then, getting to a point where it's like you realize also, as an industry, we chop down trees, guys, and party. We kill a lot of trees for these skateboards, so then you understand your grand scheme, you're like, whoa, this is insane. So if I'm really doing something and I'm doing this needs to be something worth it, and it needs to feel like something good, and it needs to be something that is of value, because at the end of the day, I am kind of getting to a point where we are devastating the environment to kind of make this fun, like this piece of plank on wheels, and it's, again, just getting to a point where you are seeing these challenges, and there are challenges that come towards you as a person, and then getting to a point where you are eager and having a positive attitude, because, again, something this small in the grand scheme gets to a point where people's expectations for it are quite high. I have not expected anything from skateboarding. That's why I've stayed around with it for so long. I've seen so many people come into it very, very like, and then leave. And then you ask yourself, like, but what were you expecting? Because at the end of the day, if you're going into something and you're going to go do it, it's like over the basis of love, right? So you put the love first, and then that's what you're doing. And then you get into it, and that's what makes the whole thing get to a point where it grows, right? I'm only at 35 at the point in doing it also where I am now only looking at the numbers. So, there's spiritual and there is physical infrastructure that needs to be placed in whatever that you're doing, and especially if it's new, especially if it's something that no one has done before. Those things they're needed. And like, again, it's only even now. It's like my biggest supporter in buying skate goods on my website on XRI is Santon, right? But where you can find me really is trying to push Soweto or trying to push the city. So now I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, wow, okay, well, right, the numbers are saying that I actually should be over there. That's where the people are relatively are that are buying the most from my brand, you know, or getting to a point where you have put enough work where people trust in you, and then a company will come up to you and they're like, okay, cool, we'll give you our infrastructure so that you can sell your skateboards on our infrastructure and back. And so now it's like I'm sitting at home and then my phone's going off and I'm going, oh damn, I made a board sale, that's so sick. You know, like, and that's also living in a different environment and then changing also how you work and willing to change and maneuver, because at the end of the day, the world is constantly changing. So these challenges that I've faced have been really, really amazing because they have taken time. And of course, you know, I'm very hard in terms of changing sometimes as a person. It's like, you know, change is sometimes hard for me, but you know, it's been absolutely great to get to a point where you're watching from this thing that is tiny and small, and then getting to a point where overseas it's huge, but then you get to a point where you're like, all right, no, I'm going to push my own context and my own narrative, and yes, it will take longer, it'll be much harder, but then now it's like I'm sitting and it's like 10 years later and it's like, all right, I have a distribution and I can kind of move stuff, and then I'm the one who's creating the work that goes out, and I'm the one creating the POP for shops, for people to, you know, to get that. It's just like, it's really, really cool. And it's been hard because it's hard to formulate a team. People that I would have loved to cross the finish line with, but it just didn't happen. And yeah, that's also part in its own thing, but also being eager and willing and change is, yeah, it's quite a bit. Wow. Let me get going here. So yeah, to manipulate, another definition: manipulate a situation typically in a way that's unfair or unscrupulous. So manipulating a situation really is just getting to a point where it's the fun about skating. It's like I have these stairs that are built for people to walk down, but I'm going to do a trick on it. I have this handrail, and then I'm going to do a trick down this handrail. It's not something that really goes down really well sometimes with people, but again, you are manipulating a situation in terms of architecture and looking at those things and then getting to a point where you're doing that. And I get to a point where I'm so hard-headed. Yeah, which is also, I'm trying to work on it, guys, I swear. I'm so hard-headed that I have these like opinions and theories and all these particular things that I stick to and that I do, that I apply skateboarding pretty much into my business ethic, which is fall, get up, which is really, really like, it's a really, really strong one. And it's also getting to a point where it's like, in a cold world, keep a warm heart, you know? Because at the end of the day, what you want to do is that you want to get what you want. You want to get what you are particularly are in need of, you know? And that also has been some of the things that have really pushed in terms of like doing skateboarding and then being able to kind of stick around in something again where its relevance is quite small, but the love for it is huge, you know? My name is Wandile Msomi. I didn't really introduce myself. Yeah, sorry guys. I was born to two political refugees, Busisiwe Zondi and Wandile Msomi, and I was born in India, in Dehradun, which is in the Himalayas. I got to go for my 30th birthday guys, I was born in a very beautiful place. God damn. Like, a really amazing part of the world. I grew up watching Rosa Albert's Cry Freedom and Killing Fields on my VHS, which I watched religiously to a point that I think maybe if I still watched, maybe there might be like parts of me that I recited, and I was really, really young. And my dad always says to me, he's like, what type of father was I? While other kids were watching Disney films, we were watching very, very highly political films in my house. That was really my thing. And you know, to this day, my sister and I are pretty socially awkward because of it. I can kind of, and you know, because those films also are, those films also in content are obsessed with ethic, obsessed with doing the right thing, trying to get to a point where you are, you know, helping people in need, trying to, you know, how can I say it? I had it written down here, and obsessing with fighting oppression, you know, and skateboarding is something that I've used as a catalyst to these things, and these are the things that kind of drive me today. I'm born from a very amazing people that I need to do proud, and so therefore I kind of work diligently at trying to do that. And it's again, having a warm heart in a cold world, and you know, and also really finding something that you love and letting it kill you is I've never found such a fun like a fun saying, and I'm privileged to have had something in my life that I could do the same. I wanted to play a video. This was a video that I made with my friend Jonathan. It was my gift to Joburg because I've moved to Durban, where I'm working on a clothing factory. I kind of enjoy this video because, again, you know, Joburg is a place that everybody's always in transition. That's the thing. It's like everybody kind of lands here, takes what they need, and then they're out. And I kind of did the same, but I felt like I needed to kind of leave something to say thank you. And it was kind of more motivated along the lines of working together, because I've made videos myself where you're a one-man team, like the video that I made before, and it's just hard. You know, you need somebody who's a cinematographer. I'm a skateboard cinematographer, that's all I am, but I'm not like a great cinematographer at all. So that's why, like, for an example, you'll see visuals in here that Jonathan did, because he is one. He's a photographer. He's an amazing being, and I'm happy that the caliber, I basically want to illustrate the caliber of people that I'm kind of working with in terms of their hearts, and those people that have kept me motivated to kind of carry on, because that's the thing that's really amazing about it, is that you need to be inspired, and there are people that have really, really come to a point where they've come into my life and really inspired me to carry on doing what I'm doing. So if I am doing something, it's because there are people behind it, and there are people that I've worked with. And it's very, very hard. Like, I'll go into a quick thing. I'm now in partnership with a gentleman who has more resources than I do, and then I don't. And so it's very hard for him to kind of get to a point where whatever he wants to do now. And he has the backing and all the stuff to do it. And I have to be like, oh, damn, dude, I have to figure out how I'm going to get this money. This guy's talking about like that we need 40,000 Rand for this. oh God, and then he gets highly frustrated with me. But I think what I'm certain of is that my value that I bring to the distribution is quite high, because there are things that I've done and work that I've done before, and so then therefore I'm not rocked by his feelings. I kind of take my time and I do my thing. Is it good for a long sustained relationship? We'll see. You know, we'll see. Like, we'll see how it goes. But again, you know, it's yeah, thank you guys, you know. Thank you.
Inside and now, breaking news, where a bus has been set